Welcome back to Lake Martin Dock Company. Your host, Dave McGirt, with Daniel Jackson. So the reason we joined today, we had an interesting comment. One of our customers came in and said, hey, I Googled how much is a double-decker. And the internet gods told me it's between $30,000 and $50,000. Daniel, I don't think that's right. So obviously, if you look into the data that was driving that, it was pre-COVID. So there's a lot of things that have pushed costs up in this day and age. The other thing is we're all driven, we're all attracted to that low number, right? And the way I always think about marketing is, like cars. Like I want to buy a Tahoe. Okay, well, you're going to get me in the door because you're going to advertise the LS price for, $50,000. And then there's the medium, an LT, and then there's the LTZ, and then there's a high country. So all of a sudden I have a $50,000, $60,000 car. I also have the exact same four wheels and shape for $100 and something thousand. And I think the docks are in the same world. And so there's not a simple answer when people ask us, well, how much does a double decker cost? It's a range, and it's just how tricked out you want that dock to be. So at a high level, let's just talk simply about double deckers really quick and just say, okay, what is that big range for a customer? It's just like, hey, where's the beginning and where's the end point, if there is an end point sometimes, for what I could spend on a double decker in a stationary, non-floating dock?
Yeah, for double deckers, you can start out with maybe we've done a few single slip double deckers this past year. Those are going to start in the range of maybe, 75,000, maybe a touch lower, but those are going to be kind of bare bones, built structures, either with a flat sun deck, single slip, not a lot of hanging out space down below. You're utilizing that upper deck area as your hangout spot. And then when you start factoring in the different type of materials, either you're going to use AZEK or aluminum decking on the top so it's waterproof below, or the type of handrails. The handrails can swing a quote or, the cost of a build, a good bit, just when you have, 150 to 250 feet of railing that needs to go on that structure with stairs going up and the structure above. But when you get into kind of the maxed out two slip designs where you have a full upper deck and some half covered and nice covered sitting area up on the top, you can get into the 150 to $250,000 range. You can get way on up there, and it's going to all depend on the level of decking you put in there, the type of handrails, the size of the structure. So yeah, a lot of those kind of bells and whistles, if you will, factor in.
Specifically to the inflation of the numbers in this day and age. So the low end double decker is still double what the internet's telling me a double decker costs.
Yes.
What are those driving things that that were caused both by COVID and inflation that have gotten us to this point where just the base price is double what they think it was?
Yeah, a lot of it was supply chain issues back in the pandemic times, and you got labor costs that are more. And we've seen prices come down. We've actually been able to evaluate our price in this past year and actually lower the costs from where we're at because we have seen some of those materials come down. But where we had to go up to be able to maintain and keep everything going, we weren't able to go back to that point. We barely got halfway back to that even if we did that. So costs have somewhat leveled out, but they're definitely not as low as they once were. So we're seeing some bigger cost. So yeah, if you start searching on the internet, you're gonna probably find some outdated information.
Well, and I think, unfortunately, I don't know that the costs are ever going to get back to where they were. Gas prices, we all hope will get back, but the material, the labor costs, salaries aren't going back down, things like that. So that's one thing to consider when you look at internet values of things, understand the timestamp. So let's circle back to the different styles of docks. There's three big buckets that we work in. There's a stationary uncovered, the boathouse, basically it's a stationary dock with a cover, and then obviously the sexy double deckers that we're able to build on Lake Martin. Let's give everybody an idea. So just a plain stationary dock, what is that range? So what's the LS model all the way up to the high country model that we see on Lake Martin?
Yeah, I think for us, our base uncovered stationary structure. I would consider that with like a 16 by 20 platform with a floating dock at the end, set of stairs. You're gonna be looking at, the $25,000 range for something like that. That's gonna be wood decking. We're still gonna use the round pilings, not any square 4x4 post or even 4x or 6x6 post. And you can always, trim that down. So, you can really cut back if you don't want to do the floater. That can always be a phase 2 add-on. So, realistically, you could get a functional dock in there for, in that $15,000 range and have that as, phase 1 and be able to build on in the future.
You kind of alluded to it, right? So we don't have a contractor-grade product that we sell. So there's, Uncle Eddie's 4x4s or 6x6s, any square post that you see on Lake Martin. It's not ideal for the application. It looks pretty. Sure. I don't disagree with that, but it's not structurally what you want with the weight of the boats, with the wave actions on Lake Martin, et cetera. And obviously, when you get into the bigger structures, continuous pilings all the way up to the second floor to the roof are super critical for safety. We obviously saw a lot of structures fail, when we had some bad weather last year, and thankfully nobody was hurt in those collapses. The next step up is a boathouse. All right, so we talked a little bit about stationary docks, how low you could go. On a boathouse, what is that range? And I like what you pointed out. It's important for people to know you don't have to build all kind of the Field of Dreams dock first, right? You can plan for expansions and build it accordingly. So, there's a lot of things that you can kind of future plan for in that design. So make sure you think that when you sit down with our designers and say, I only own one boat today. I don't necessarily need 2 boat lifts or 2 slips. People that are visiting can park themselves. They don't need a slip. But we can allow for that and plan for that and save you some money down the road when it is time to add that. So specifically, now we want to have a roof over our boat, potentially have the ability to store a boat over the winter and save some money there. What's that range for just a kind of a low-end boathouse to the extreme?
Yeah, so a single slip boathouse, having a walkway out with a slip with walkways around the slip area, and then having that whole space covered, you would be in $40,000 range, and that would should include a boat lift in that, and then you'll have options to build off of that, have platforms that come off to the side, or have some other covered areas that would have nice sitting areas out there beside the slips. So you could be in the 55 to 60 range when you start adding some of those other features in, and then you can go well beyond that with some of the decking upgrades and lift upgrades as well.
Nice. So the Holy Grail, I think we're up to 12 this year. Put in the ground, double deckers. Mm-hmm. So obviously it's a very attractive option because you've got all your boats and kind of your useful space down below, and then the top space is 100% there for entertainment and enjoying the dock without having to work around boats. What is that range? Because this is the one that I find there's a lot of sticker shock, and that's how this whole podcast started, which was, on the internet it said I could get a double decker for $40,000. What are you talking about? So what's a realistic range for a well-built double-decker, kind of the bottom end to the top end?
You're going to be, $80,000 up to, $200,000 is kind of our range that we see from a single slip and then kind of a maxed out 2 slip. When we do a 2 slip, kind of a maxed out double-decker, they usually land in that 150 to 200 range. And again, that's going to depend on a lot of different things you put into the type of hand railing and the decking. Decking can affect the price a good bit just because we have so many options there. So you can go, kind of moderate, warranty, 25-year warranty, and you go up to lifetime warranty, and then also different looks are going to affect that.
If I take out some of our recent projects, there's a 250 in there, there's a 400 in there. Kind of what's that sweet spot that we normally see folks kind of end up on the double deckers, just that kind of middle of the road that most people choose?
It ends up being somewhere in between that 150 to 200. Right. They're probably in that 170, maybe 165 range is what we tend to see.
Well, guys, I hope this is helpful just to have a better sense of what the real world is doing price-wise. We're going to try to push some information out there so the Google won't be such a bad advice on this particular topic. If you have any other questions, put them in the comments. And obviously any other topics or things you want us to cover, we'd be happy to do it. Until next time, We appreciate you joining us and have a great day.